The summer air hung heavy and still, thick with the promise of relentless heat. But then, without any warning, the sky turned an ominous bruised purple, and fat, wet snowflakes began to fall. It was the kind of blizzard you'd expect in the dead of winter, not the middle of July. Panic rippled through our small community as the reality of this impossible weather settled in. Dad's old SUV, our only means of escape, had just one seat left. My sister Lily, ever quick on her feet, scrambled into the vehicle, leaving me standing dumbfounded in the swirling snows. "Lily, you're the older one," I called out, my voice already tight with a rising sense of dread. "You're stronger too. You should give me this chance. They believe you can survive out here on your own." My parents, their faces etched with a strange mixture of fear and resolve, nodded in agreement. Then, with a chilling efficiency, they piled all the remaining food into the SUV. My stomach clenched as I watched them, my thin summer shirt offering little protection against the sudden, brutal cold. The engine rumbled to life, and with a final, heartless glance, they drove away, leaving me alone in the rapidly intensifying blizzard. But something unexpected happened. As the biting wind whipped around me and the snow piled up at my feet, a strange warmth began to bloom in my chest. It spread quickly, tingling through my limbs, and I realized with a shock that stole my breath that I had somehow awakened a mysterious ice power. It was an instinct, a pull, and I knew deep down that this power wasn't just for my survival, it was for others too. I used this newfound ability to navigate the treacherous, snow-covered landscape, guiding lost and frightened people through the unfolding apocalypse. I became a beacon of hope, a hero in a world plunged into icy chaos. Meanwhile, my family, safe in the SUV, didn't fare so well. Stripped of their food and warm clothes by desperate thugs, they succumbed to the merciless, freezing cold, their escape turning into a tragic end. Then, just as vividly as it had begun, the scene dissolved, and I blinked, finding myself back in the stifling summer heat, the sky a clear, innocent blue. It was that day again. The day of the impossible blizzard, the day of our escape. But this time, something was different. As the conversation about the last seat in the SUV began, my sister, Lily, stepped forward with a determined glint in her eyes. "I'll stay," she announced, her voice firm. "This time, I'll be the hero." A strange unease settled over me. Little did she know the power that had saved so many in my vision wasn't something that could be claimed simply through sacrifice. It was a part of me, something I was born with. Even reliving this day, I knew it would still be mine. "There's only one spot left in Dad's SUV," my father's voice boomed, laced with a false sorrow. "Boyd has to take it because he's the only boy in the family and he must carry on the family line. One of you sisters will have to stay." His words hung in the air, heavy with a blatant favoritism that made my stomach churn. I was disgusted, I thought to myself. Fine. Even if I lived again, I'd still be the hero, so who needs such a family? As the words formed in my mind, ready to be spoken, my sister, Lily, jumped in front of me, her face a mask of anxious determination. "Dad, let Lily take the car," she pleaded. "I'll stay." I was taken aback by the sudden intensity in her eyes, but it quickly morphed into something else. Something sinister. As she brushed past me, she whispered, her voice low and venomous. "You just got lucky last time. This time, I'll awaken the powers and become the hero." "What did you say?" I asked, stunned by her words. "Nothing," she replied, instantly reverting to a tragic, self-sacrificing demeanor. Could Lily have been reborn too? The thought sent a shiver down my spine, colder than any blizzard. Last time, even though Dad had feigned asking for our opinions, their decision had already been made. My brother and sister were twins, always living with our parents in the city, while I had grown up with our grandparents in a small town far away. It was obvious who they would choose. Surprisingly, Dad patted Lily's shoulder, nodding tearfully. "Lily, we're so proud of you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Then, his gaze flickered to me, hardening with disapproval. Unlike some people who are just selfish. He then pulled a large duffel bag overflowing with food from the back of the SUV, setting it on the ground. "Take this food, survive, and help us live well someday. he said to Lily, his voice quiet but brimming with an almost unsettling excitement. How are they so quick to give in? I wondered, watching the exchange. Lily was their precious daughter, the one they had always doted on. Then, a shocking idea hit me with the force of a physical blow. Could the whole family have been reborn? Dad, Mom, Boyd, I'll survive, I declared, my voice ringing with a newfound resolve. Get to the safe zone. Lily nodded tearfully, but her eyes held a smug, knowing glint that sent a wave of unease through me. They hugged each other, their cries echoing in the sudden, unnatural silence of the falling snow, as if someone had truly died. Watching this performance made me sick. Last time they had left me heartlessly with nothing, not even a coat, and driven off while I chased their car through the blizzard. Yet, when I had gained powers and become a hero, they had been consumed by jealousy. Even now, they wanted to ruin my chances. I held up my hand, and a single snowflake formed out of nowhere, swirling gently in the air above my palm. I laughed at them silently. Did they really think powers awakened just from freezing in the cold? This ability was innate, a part of me. I had never awakened it before because I had lived in the warm southern climates my whole life. Then, Boyd, my twin brother, stormed over and slapped me hard across the face. It's your fault Lily has to stay out here, he snarled, his eyes blazing with anger. The sting on my cheek was sharp, but the injustice of his accusation cut deeper. I wanted to freeze this brutish brother of mine where he stood. But sadly, my powers were still in their early stages of awakening. I was barely able to form a simple icicle, let alone a full-fledged ice blast. If you care so much, let her take the car, I retorted, stepping out into the swirling snow. I'll stay. Now their faces showed genuine panic. Dad grabbed my arm quickly, pulling me back towards the SUV. Lily, don't be mad at your brother, he said, his voice placating. He's just a kid playing around. Get in the car, Mom chimed in, her tone equally soothing. Yeah, you're the big sister. Be magnanimous. Boyd just slapped you. Don't hold a grudge. I looked sorely at my brother, his face still contorted in anger, but I let Dad push me back into the car. The SUV was packed to the brim with stuff, leaving barely any room in the back seats. Most of it was completely unnecessary. If Dad had left behind some of his precious wine collection, or Lily a few of her countless dresses, or Boyd his ridiculous collection of sneakers, I would have had much more space. But they hadn't. To them, I was worth less than these material possessions. The car was freezing inside, but Dad chose not to run the heater, claiming he needed to save gas for the long journey to the supposed safe zone. The rest of them shivered in thick, expensive coats while I wore just a thin jacket. I had never packed for cold weather. They had bought their warm clothes while abandoning me to what they thought would be a snowy demise in the north. But it didn't matter. As an ice-powered person, I stayed comfortably warm no matter the clothing. I felt a pang of hunger and reached for a package of cookies on the seat beside me, but Boyd snatched it away before my fingers could close around it. Greedy pig. What are you doing eating? If you finish it, what's left for us? We should have left you behind. Mom turned around in her seat, her expression disapproving. Lily, we're all hungry. Do you feel right eating in front of us? Since they had left so much food with Lily outside, the supplies in the car dwindled fast, making any opportunity to waste even a single cookie unacceptable in their eyes. I rolled my eyes and swung the car door open. The sudden rush of wind and snow into the warm interior startled them. If I can't eat, then no one can live, I said, my voice cold and sharp. My family was visibly startled, and Dad, in his panic, swerved the SUV sharply, crashing it into a nearby tree. Luckily, we weren't going fast, so no one was seriously hurt, just jolted and shaken. Are you crazy? My brother screamed, grabbing my collar, his fist raised, ready to strike. Just then, a group of masked men emerged from the swirling snow, pointing guns directly at our car. Don't move, get down, they yelled, their voices rough and menacing. This hadn't happened last time. My parents were shaking with fear, their faces pale, and they immediately did as they were told, scrambling to get as low as possible in their seats. What are you doing? This is illegal. My brother, ever the hothead despite his fear, tried to stand up to them, his voice trembling. The leader of the group, a tall, imposing figure, fired a shot into the snow beside the car, the sound echoing in the unnatural silence of the blizzard. My brother yelped and fell back into his seat, a dark, wet stain spreading between his legs, which soon began to freeze into a puddle of ice. Illegal? I am the law now, the leader declared, his voice booming. Now grab all their valuables and food. As soon as the word robbery was uttered, my mom panicked. She was notoriously stingy and would be more devastated by losing her jewelry than anything else. She knelt in front of the leader, her hands clasped together in a desperate plea. Please don't take our stuff. How about this? My daughter here is 22. Beautiful. You can take her and let us go. She gestured towards me with a trembling hand. I burst out laughing, the sound sharp and incredulous in the tense atmosphere. Are you even listening to yourself? I'm your daughter. She snapped back, her eyes flashing with a cold fury. Now's the time for you to repay us. We've done so much for you after all. My brother joined in, his voice whiny and self-righteous. Yeah, you owe us for everything. What's the big deal about spending a night with these guys? Just spread your legs and get it over with. Who knows, they might even take care of you. He turned to the leader with a sickeningly fake smile. My sister's never even dated. She's pure. Go ahead, have fun. Even my dad, who always claimed to be the fair and reasonable one, stayed silent, his eyes darting nervously between the robbers and me, basically agreeing with their horrifying proposition. You think you took care of me? I retorted, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt. I remember being dumped at Grandpa and Grandma's with only $500 for 3 years. I had to scrape together my college tuition with loans. How dare you say you've been more than enough? My question left them momentarily speechless, the sheer audacity of their suggestion hanging in the air. Even if we didn't give you much, you still owe us because we're family, my mom stubbornly insisted, her face hardening. I've never seen anyone sell out their family like this, I shot back, my face flushed with anger and disgust. Her face flushed with embarrassment, but she refused to back down. At that moment, my usually silent dad spoke up, his voice surprisingly calm. Lily, stop acting childish. You spending time with them isn't death. But my mom gave him a sharp nudge and he fell silent again, his gaze shifting uncomfortably. Laughing, a bitter, hollow sound, I said, Fine, I'll go with them. The leader smiled sleazily, his eyes raking over me as he took a step closer. My family looked visibly relieved and started to get back into the car, eager to be rid of me. Wait, I interrupted, holding up a hand. Are you robbers going by the book? Even if I go with you, you can still take all the stuff in the car. There's liquor, jewelry, Nike sneakers. Lily, you traitor! My brother yelled, but one of the masked men kicked him back to the ground with a grunt. This girl's smart, the leader smirked, his eyes gleaming. I'll make sure she's taken care of. He nodded to his men, who immediately began to ransack the car, grabbing anything that looked valuable. My parents were helpless, unable to act against the guns pointed at them. All their anger and resentment now turned on me. Lily, why are you doing this to us? Dad shouted, his voice filled with a desperate rage. Ignoring him, I continued, and the SUV is worth $100,000, and the keys are in my dad's pocket. My dad looked at me, his eyes wide with stunned disbelief, instinctively trying to protect his pocket. But the leader, without hesitation, fired a shot at my dad's hand. Blood instantly began to pool and freeze on the snow-covered ground. The leader grabbed the keys, pushing my family aside like they were nothing more than trash, and roughly pulled me with him into the swirling snow. You'll get what's coming to you, Lily, my family screamed after us, their voices already being drowned out by the howling wind. Wait till Lily gets her powers, and you'll be crawling back to us. I chuckled to myself, thinking that Lily was probably frozen solid by now, lost and alone in the blizzard. Lost in thought, I suddenly felt a hand groping my side. Sweetie, how come you're so warm in this weather? The leader said in a sleazy tone, his breath hot on my ear. He stopped the car abruptly, his intentions sickeningly clear. I pretended to go along with it, intertwining my fingers with his. He grinned like a predator, his eyes filled with a disgusting anticipation. But his expression soon turned to one of horror, as his hand, still holding mine, became encased in a thick layer of ice. I smiled sweetly, my eyes cold. You seem a bit hot-headed, I said, my voice deceptively gentle. Let me cool you down. He stared at me in shock and disbelief as I swiftly turned him into a life-sized ice statue. Armed with the knowledge and experience from my past life, my powers had developed quickly. Within just a few hours, I couldn't yet control entire snowstorms, but freezing one person solid was now relatively easy. Hardened by 5 years of survival in the apocalypse, I didn't hesitate to boot the frozen leader out of the car. Now alone, I set off to find a safe zone, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. Though being a bit directionally challenged, what should have been a quick trip took me until nightfall. After finally spotting the lights of the safe zone, I went through the registration checks. Just as I was about to step inside, I saw them. My parents and younger brother had somehow managed to arrive. When they saw me, they were stunned for a moment, their mouths agape. Then, their shock quickly turned to anger, and they rushed towards me, their faces contorted with rage. "How dare you show up here, you bitch!" Ignoring their hateful outburst, I grabbed a bag of food from the car, my stomach rumbling with hunger. Right away, they became jealous and reported me to the staff nearby. "She can't enter the safe zone. She's our daughter, but she stole our car and food, leaving us to fend for ourselves. She's heartless." I rolled my eyes, not wanting to engage with their ridiculous accusations, but they just wouldn't let up, their voices rising in indignation. But in these end times, who had time for their petty nonsense? When their report failed to get me turned away, my dad's face turned a furious red, his bandaged hand throbbing. His usual calm demeanor was completely gone. Suddenly, a cunning look crossed his face and he exclaimed, "My second daughter is a superhuman, a big hero saving humanity. You should respect me or I won't let her save you." Normally, someone might take him for a fool, but the staff member seemed to know something. He asked seriously, "Is what you're saying true, sir?" "Of course. My second daughter, Lily, is a superhuman. She'll join us soon. Kick this bitch out first and I'll have my daughter save you." "You wait here. I'll get the boss," said the staff member quickly, leaving us standing there. My parents and brother exchanged smug glances, their eyes filled with a vindictive satisfaction. "Lily, Neil, apologize and maybe we'll spare you," they gloated, their voices dripping with sarcasm. I treated their nonsense like the barking of annoying dogs, which really took them off guard. Just then, a man who looked like a leader or manager approached me, his expression urgent. "Do you have superpowers?" he asked, his eyes searching mine. No, it's my second daughter. She's not here yet." "This brat can't have powers," my mom hurriedly interjected, her voice sharp. "Oh, when will she arrive?" he asked, a hint of disappointment in his tone. I chuckled inwardly, thinking that Lily probably couldn't survive a night in the cold outside. As if to emphasize my thought, a small ice crystal formed in my hand, ready to demonstrate my own abilities. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "It's me! I'm the superhuman!" Stunned, I looked in the direction of the voice. Lily stood there, wrapped like a burrito in thick blankets, her face red and chapped from the cold. My parents and brother cried out with joy, rushing to hug her, their earlier anger forgotten. So, she hadn't died. Well-dressed warmly and carrying a bag of food, it was no surprise. "Really fantastic. We need superhumans now more than ever. Show us, please," the leader exclaimed excitedly, pulling Lily forward to demonstrate her powers. Somewhat hesitant, Lily stuttered, looking guilty. "Amy, show them," my mom urged, her voice a mix of anxiety and excitement. With everyone watching, Lily awkwardly went into a stance, waving her hands around dramatically. "Hey! Ha! Ice, come!" But after a long moment, not even a single drop of water appeared. I almost laughed out loud. She really had me going with her theatrics. The leader frowned, looking unsurprised. "Are you kidding? This isn't the time for jokes." My parents panicked and urged her on, their faces growing increasingly worried. Lily almost cried, but embarrassed, she kept pretending, waving her hands with more and more desperation. Quietly, I formed a small ice block in my hand and subtly placed it in Lily's outstretched palm. There it is," she shouted with forced excitement, holding up the ice block for everyone to see. The crowd cheered, their faces filled with relief and hope. "Humanity is saved. Follow me, please." The leader nearly jumped with joy, respectfully guiding Lily towards the base center. As she passed me, Lily shot me a smug glance, humming arrogantly under her breath. "This time, I'm the hero." Watching her leave, basking in the undeserved adoration, I chuckled coldly. I'll play along for now, I thought. Can't wait to see her exposed. After a long talk with the base leaders, Lily returned, her face flushed with pride. She couldn't show any more power later, but her earlier success had people convinced she was just inexperienced and needed time to hone her skills. Mom, Dad, Boyd! Soon they'll set us up in the best suite. The four of us will live easy. Pretending she had just noticed me, Lily acted surprised. Oh, I forgot about you, sis. I only got a 3-bedroom suite, so you might have to sleep in the living room. Before I could respond, my brother spat at me in disgust. She's ungrateful. You're too nice, sis. Let her freeze and ward off evil. Exactly. You don't know what she did. She teamed up with bandits, took our car, food, and valuables. Teach her a lesson. My mom chimed in, her eyes filled with malice. Lily, awkwardly smiling, tried to appear saintly, suggesting, hey, we're family. If you apologize and bow, I might forgive you and let you sleep in the living room. How does that sound? Lily looked at me, her eyes full of provocation. I gave her a dismissive eye roll, smirking. No need. Milk it while you can before you're found out and left with nothing, you piece of trash. What do you mean by that? Lily finally dropped the act, her face contorting with rage as she lunged at me maliciously. Just then, a big, burly guy stepped between us, his eyes hard. You know her? He asked, and 5 or 6 other menacing figures appeared beside him, holding batons. Lily was visibly scared, but she remembered her newfound status as a powerful being and arrogantly replied, so what if we are? If you're new here, someone needs to teach you the rules, the big guy sneered. This area is under our protection. You gotta pay a fee. Food, drinks, gold, whatever. With the post-apocalyptic chaos, these guys saw an opportunity to exploit the vulnerable. You're dreaming! I'd rather feed pigs than give you anything, my brother shouted, foolishly backing up Lily's bravado. But the big guy wasn't having it. He slapped my brother hard across the face, knocking him to the ground with a yelp. You dared to hit me? Do you know who my sister is? My brother wailed, clutching his stinging cheek. The big guy squinted at Lily, curious. Lily swallowed hard, her legs shaking, but she bluffed. I'm a super-powered being. I could turn you all into ice sculptures in a second. The guys looked at each other, then burst into laughter, a harsh, mocking sound. You gotta be kidding me. A super-powered being? Too many apocalypse novels, huh? Laugh now, you'll cry later, Lily snapped, her voice trembling with fear and anger. Just then, our parents came up, seeing my brother lying on the ground. My mom, thinking her superpowered daughter was invincible, scratched the big guy's face furiously. You dare hit my son? Lily, teach them a lesson. Mom's words provoked the big guy. He kicked her hard, sending her flying 5 or 6 yards away, where she landed with a thud, writhing in pain. Screw this! Attack them, guys! Let's see what kind of superpowers they have! Instantly, they rushed my parents and brother, hitting and kicking them senselessly. Meanwhile, I had slipped out of the immediate conflict, watching from a safe distance. How dare you! I'm a superpowered being! Lily screamed desperately, waving her hands frantically, but nothing happened. Yeah, right. This chick's hilarious. Good looking, though. We'll have fun with her later. The big guy sneered, his eyes filled with a predatory glint. Lily was on the verge of tears, her bravado completely gone. Lily, hurry! Dad's gonna get beaten to death! My brother cried out, writhing in pain on the ground. As the crowd of onlookers grew larger, and as Lily desperately tried to use her supposed powers, I focused my energy. In a flash, I turned the big guy into a magnificent ice sculpture, his surprised expression frozen forever. The place went dead silent, the only sound the gentle whistling of the unnatural wind. Then, someone finally blurted out in awe, "Oh my God, there really is a superpowered being." The next second, the silence shattered and the crowd erupted into cheers. We're saved! It's a superpowered being. No, it's gotta be a god here to save us. Savior, please save us. The crowd knelt down, raising their arms towards Lily as if she really was a goddess. Lily glanced at her hands, then at the lifelike ice sculpture, and then at the cheering crowd. A cocky grin spread across her face. Ha! I'm the savior! I'm here to save you all, she declared triumphantly. Where was that big talk about hitting people? She said, walking towards the remaining thugs who, witnessing Lily's apparent power, crumbled, pleading at her feet. Savior, we didn't know your greatness. Please spare us. Don't turn us into ice sculptures, they pleaded, not daring to fight back as Lily proceeded to beat them up, reveling in her newfound power. Proud of herself, she glanced at me, a smug look on her face, and then back at her adoring crowd, basking in their praise. Then, Dad stepped forward, clearing his throat to address the crowd. Ahem! My daughter is here to save you all, but she's not doing it for free. Show us you deserve it. As Dad finished speaking, people glanced at each other nervously. Quickly, someone offered a handful of gold coins. This is all I have. Please save us. Prompted by this first offering, others followed suit, offering whatever valuables they had to win Lily's favor. Soon, they were overwhelmed with gifts, and greedy smiles stretched across their faces. I stayed aside, observing coldly. I was certain that whatever fleeting joy they felt wouldn't last long. Lily's status as a superpowered savior quickly spread throughout the base. Many handed over their life savings seeking her protection. The base leaders knew the truth, or at least suspected it, but they played along for the sake of the community's morale. I kept my distance, avoiding them to steer clear of any unnecessary trouble. Since becoming the savior, Lily had become increasingly arrogant, bullying her way through the safe zone. Anyone who crossed her was dealt with harshly by my brother. The safe zone was small, so bumping into them was inevitable. One day, I saw Lily arrogantly standing by as my brother viciously assaulted a 13-year-old boy. You brat! Don't you greet the savior? Tired of living, huh? Hit him harder. Lily spat angrily at the boy, while the crowd watched in outrage, too afraid to intervene. I frowned and swiftly kicked my brother away from the boy. As my powers grew, so did my strength, easily knocking my 180-pound twin brother to the ground. Damn, who's the blind idiot? My brother groaned, getting up awkwardly. He was about to launch himself at whoever had dared to attack him. Then he saw me and paused, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. Oh, isn't it my sister? Haven't seen you for a week, huh? Feeling too ashamed to show your face around us, so you're hiding? Lily chimed in, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Oh, it's this bitch. Why'd you pop up suddenly, jealous of our good life, want to hang with us? It's too late. Even if you begged, it's useless, my brother shouted arrogantly, puffing out his chest. I ignored their taunts and instead gave them a once-over with disdain. How pathetic! What a pair of clowns! My brother flew into a rage at that, lunging at me with fists flying. But with my enhanced powers, his movements seemed to unfold in slow motion. Dodging his clumsy attack easily, I kicked him in the leg, sending him sprawling to the ground in an embarrassing heap. Aren't you afraid I'll freeze you? Lily glared, her hand instinctively reaching out as if to cast a spell, startling the small crowd that had gathered around us. Oh, go ahead, I said, standing there fearlessly, my arms crossed. I'd like to see you try. This seemed to unnerve Lily. You asked for it, she yelled, waving her hand dramatically. Ice, come. Clearly, nothing happened. What's wrong? Seems like you're all show, I said with a mocking smile. Bitch, I just slipped up. Let me try again, Lily insisted, her face turning red with frustration. But no matter how hard she tried, no ice appeared. The crowd began to murmur amongst themselves. Why can't the savior use her powers? Was she just faking all along? Are you crazy? She turned a person into an ice sculpture. Yeah, but has she ever shown her power since then? I think she's a scam. Hearing this, Lily's face flushed with embarrassment and anger, and she yelled at them to shut up. Even though her credibility was rapidly cracking, people were still afraid to openly go against her and fell silent. Just then, the base manager rushed over, his face creased with concern. What's all this noise about? He stopped short when he saw Lily and the small crowd. Seeing her chance, Lily exaggeratedly pointed at me, her voice filled with false indignation. Bro, I order you to kick this person out of the safe zone. She's a troublemaking bitch who left my parents and brother to die and beat my brother up like this. The manager looked troubled and helplessly turned to me. I think there's been a misunderstanding here. Maybe you could just apologize to Miss Lily and we'll let it slide. But before I could speak, Lily butted in. Her eyes narrowed. An apology won't cut it. She has to go. It's her or me. If I'm forced out, I won't save anyone. We'll all die together. Lily, have some shame, will you? I couldn't hold back any longer, the urge to expose her growing stronger. Just then, a gentle breeze blew in, rustling the makeshift shelters around us. The next instant, the sky turned fierce, the clouds swirling and darkening ominously as a torrential downpour began. Within moments, buildings in the safe zone started to topple, and people scattered, screaming in terror. Not far off in the distance, a gigantic tornado was rapidly heading our way. Oh no, how did the first storm come so quickly? In my last life, it had come 3 months after I awakened my powers. It had been like hell on earth, ripping houses and trees from the ground. Countless people and things swept into the storm, their fates unknown, but now, only a weekend into this devastation. My God, do something, Savior! The tornado's coming! The base manager was trembling with fear, looking over to see the so-called savior, Lily, equally terrified. What is this? Run! She yelled, trying to flee, but the manager grabbed her arm firmly. You can't run! You're the savior! Use your powers and save us! All 50,000 lives in this zone depend on you. Yes, yes. I'm the savior. I can do it. Lily gasped, trembling uncontrollably as she reached the base entrance, her eyes wide with panic. The tornado was about to engulf the zone, maybe 3 to 5 minutes left before everyone perished. Ice, come! Ice, come! Lily screamed desperately, flailing her arms wildly, but no matter how hard she tried, nothing happened. Come on, Powers, I'm the savior. The savior. Lily was screaming herself hoarse, veins popping in her neck, but all her efforts were in vain as the monstrous tornado drew nearer. No, no, how can this be? Lily fell to the ground, her face pale and lifeless. The base manager cried out in despair. Savior, aren't you the savior? Help us. Is there anyone who can save us? Meanwhile, I walked forward with a determined stride, my gaze clear and focused, ignoring the panicked faces of the manager and Lily. Lily, come back. It's dangerous, you bitch. Do you think this is your past life? You think you have powers? I told you I don't, and you definitely don't. Lily's torn voice echoed behind me, but I paid her no mind. Faced with the powerful, swirling tornado, I closed my eyes, taking a deep breath, and gathered the surrounding cold air. In the next moment, I spread my arms wide, and a thick, towering wall of ice rose from the ground, freezing the entire tornado in place almost instantly. Then, the frozen vortex shattered into a million tiny ice crystals, fading into the air like shimmering dust. Afterward, I turned to see everyone staring at me with wide eyes and dropped jaws, as if they had just witnessed a miracle. Among them were my parents and brother, their faces pale and gaunt, like zombies. Finally, someone stuttered out in disbelief. That's the savior. That's the real savior. The savior saved us. Then, the crowd erupted into cheers, their voices filled with awe and gratitude. We're saved. It's a superpowered being. No, it's got to be a god here to save us. Savior, please save us. The crowd knelt down, raising their arms towards me in supplication. But I just shook my head slowly and said, my voice calm and steady, I'm not a savior, just an ordinary person. We need to work together to get through this apocalypse. Hearing my words, the crowd's cheers grew even louder, their hope rekindled. Meanwhile, Lily stood there, shaking her head painfully, her eyes wide with disbelief and fury. No, no way. It was supposed to be me suffering and surviving. Why is the power yours? Then, as if realizing something, she gave me a hateful look. Yes, it must be you. You stole my powers, you thief. I'll kill you for that. Lily rushed at me, trying to tackle me, but she was no match for my abilities. I barely had to lift a foot to send her flying backwards like a bow without a string. You didn't think just suffering would grant you powers, did you? I said, my voice cold and matter-of-fact. I've been the one behind all those little miracles you thought were yours. I was born with these powers, they'll always be mine, no matter how many times I'm reborn. Once I said that, Lily collapsed to the ground like a deflated balloon, her eyes filled with a bitter resentment. At that moment, someone in the crowd pointed at my parents and brother, shouting angrily, "This family are all frauds!" Pretending to be saviors, stealing and cheating money, bullying others. Don't let them get away. Just like that, everyone's anger, which had been simmering beneath the surface at Lily's arrogance and their family's blatant exploitation, ignited. They had witnessed firsthand Lily's deception and their cruelty. The crowd surged forward, ganging up on my parents and brother, hitting and kicking them mercilessly. Stop hitting us. You'll kill us. I'll return the money. Lily, save us. I'm your mom. You can't abandon us like this. Don't be so heartless, sis. Save me. I'll be good to you from now on. I'll do anything for you. Please save me, daughter. I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Please stop. They cried and screamed for mercy, reaching out to me for help, just like when I had begged them not to leave me behind in the car in the past life. They had it coming. Gradually realizing that I wouldn't lift a finger to help them, they began cursing me, their faces contorted with hatred. Wretch, you'll die a horrible death. You're going to hell. We won't let you go, even as ghosts. But their words had no power over me anymore. Soon, their voices faded into pained whimpers. The person in charge of the save zone tugged at my side anxiously. You need to save them. It can't end with them getting beaten to death. I shrugged, raising a thick wall of ice to stop the angry crowd, but it was too late. They were already dead, just like last time. I used my powers to lead humanity in resisting the apocalypse. Together, finally, with everyone's effort, the storm was held back, and the unnatural snow began to melt. To prevent floods from the rapidly melting snow and rising sea levels, I worked tirelessly, moving the vast quantities of snow to the poles, also solving the previous polar ice cap melting issue. Quickly, human civilization began to thrive again, and once more, I became the savior, with statues erected in my honor worldwide. 10 years later, on a sunny afternoon, I stood in a sterile hospital room. Amy's voice, weak and filled with a familiar bitterness, echoed in my ears. You only got lucky. It should have been me with the power. I should have been the savior. She was the savior, the God who saved them. She was the savior. A doctor had just informed me that her condition had worsened and was unlikely to improve. I shrugged, planning to leave. As I turned to walk out of the room, a loud crash came from behind me. The doctor rushed back in, his face pale with shock. Amy had hit her head against the wall, blood gushing from the wound, her eyes lifeless, still fixed on me, filled with a chilling bitterness and anger. I walked over to her bedside, gently closed her eyes, and then used my cold energy to freeze her body in a block of ice. Maybe it would keep away bad luck.